Good evening. I would like to call the March 16th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting to order. I would like to point out that this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city's website and by teleconference for public comment. Due to the structure of the meeting, I would like to remind the Planning Commission to have their microphones turned on and positioned so that the audience can hear. Director Fain, may we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Commissioner Beamsterfer? Here. Commissioner Hill?
Here.
Commissioner Lemke?
Here.
Vice Chair Van Arsdale?
Here.
And Chair Worth?
Here. All right. Commissioner Lemke, would you please lead us in the invocation of flag salute?
If everybody will rise. Please face the flag and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, we ask you to guide us in all of our reviews, judgments, and help us pull wisdom to make the right decisions for our community. We stand together as commission to do what's right for the city. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. All right, agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes. Does the commission have any comments or changes to the minutes?
Move approval of the minutes. Second, March 2nd, 2021. And then I'll second.
All right. Are we ready for the... We are. Minutes are approved, 5-0. All right, agenda item number 5, public comment period. To accommodate public comment, we've made some temporary changes to this part of our agenda that were necessitated to comply with COVID-19 directives. There is a temporary 2-minute per person time limit for all general public comments on non-public hearing items. All who wish to speak, including commissioners and staff, need to be recognized by the chair before speaking. Members of the public shall comply with the adopted rules of decorum, Resolution 4545, a copy of which can be requested at the city clerk's office. You may fill out a form and submit your comments online at www.hemetca.gov/councilchamberlive. Submittals must be done before 2 p.m. the day of the meeting. For those that wish to join by teleconference, you may join by calling 888-585-9008, and when prompted, dial 743-463-604#. You will be asked for your name prior to speaking. Reminder, if you are joining by teleconference, please mute your phone to prevent noise interference until you are given time to provide public comment. Also, when speaking, please make sure to mute your live stream. Please state your name and item you are commenting on before speaking. Are there any members of the public that are participating through teleconference that would like to comment on items that are not on the agenda? Do we have any online submittals?
We did not receive any e-comments.
All right, moving on to agenda item 6A for Conditional Use Permit 19-010 Santiago Hemet RV Park and Modification of Conditional Use Permit 6-75 Mod.1. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, staff, and members of the public. Tonight, we are requesting a continuance at the February 2nd, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. This project was continued to March 2nd, 2021 to allow the applicant additional time to review the proposed conditions of approval. At the March 2nd, 2021 meeting, staff requests that the project be continued to March 16th, 2021 meeting to allow additional time for the applicant to review the conditions. Staff had not received any communication from the applicant as to how to proceed. Therefore, staff is requesting that the project be continued to April 6, 2021 Planning Commission meeting to allow additional time for the applicant to continue to review the conditions of approval.
Thank you. So we're still in public hearing. Is there any questions or comments, or is there anyone that would like to comment on this project? If not, we'll take a recommendation. I'll make a recommendation to continue the item to April 6th, 2021 Planning Commission hearing and maintain public hearing open.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. It's moved 5-0. Item 7A for Site Development Review 20-009 and Model Home Marketing Complex 21-002 KB Homes at Mcsweeney Farms.
Chairman?
Yes.
I would like to recuse myself as I live in Mcsweeney Farms.
Would show that Commissioner Lemke has been accused. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Chairman Worth, members of the Planning Commission, and the public. The project here before you is a Site Development Review 20-009 and Model Home Marketing Complex 21-002 for KB Homes at Mcsweeney Farms. The applicant is KB Homes Coastal. The subject property is located at the southeast corner of Mcsweeney Parkway and South Village Loop Road in the Mcsweeney Farms specific plan. The project is a request for site development review for the architectural review of 102 single-family residential lots within Tract 33824-2 within the Mcsweeney Farms specific plan. Site development is required for the proposed architecture, plotting of the homes, front yard landscaping, and fencing for the underlying tract and city zoning code for all residential projects of 5 lots or more. The applicant is also requesting approval of model home complex MHC 21-002 on lots 47, 48, and 49, and a parking lot on lot 46. The underlying general plan land use designation of the property is low medium density residential, 5.1 to 8 dwelling units per acre, with a minimum of average of 7,200 average square foot zoning designation. Minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet, and the minimum or the average square footage of the lot is 7,200 square feet. This tract has already been platted, and the lots are already established. Mcsweeney Farms is a subdivision of approximately 18.2 acres located on the southeast corner of Mcsweeney Parkway and South Village Loop. Primary access into the development is taken from State Street to the west. Tentative tract map 33824 was approved by the Planning Commission on April 4, 2006 by Resolution 06-14. The specific plan, the subject property is a subdivision of 34.2 acres into 102 single-family lots located at the southeast corner of Mcsweeney Parkway and Village Loop. This property is also in planning area 9 and 12 of the Mcsweeney planning area 12 of the Mcsweeney Farm specific plan, and includes a total of 238 single-family lots with lettered lots and parks on 58 acres of land. The property to the north is currently Richmond American Homes, currently under construction. You have single family to the west and the Cactus Valley Wash to the east, as well as future residential to the south. The plotting of the development includes a diverse mix of one-story homes with architectural facades that provide visual interest along the street facade. This is a two-part plan. As you can see here in this plan, there are different symbols that describe the different plan types. The overall typical front yard landscaping that you would see for the development is as shown and as illustrated here. There would be trees in the parkway. Those trees would differentiate from the trees that are designed on the lots. The trees in the parkway are consistent with the city's approved plant palette, and the landscaping in the front yards are consistent with the Mcsweeney Farms specific plant palette. The front yard and the fencing design include 6-foot-high tan vinyl privacy fences, privacy fencing, and also in some cases block wall if it's on the corner lot. You would also see vinyl fencing with retaining walls, as illustrated on the lower diagram. The fence return in the front is block with vinyl fencing. The properties that are adjacent or abut the Cactus Valley Wash or open space areas are designed and constructed by the master developer. That is more of the open view fencing, tubular fencing with block wall and split face. The applicant is also requesting approval this evening for the model home complex. And this is the location of the model home complex on lots 47, 48, and 49. Lot 46 is the parking lot. The three models in the model home park, we'll discuss that in the next slide on the architectural theme. But the overall site improvements include enhanced landscaping and irrigation, vinyl fencing at side yard returns and interior fencing, customer parking improvements, including an ADA parking space, and accessible outdoor restroom with vinyl fencing and lattice enclosure for screening. The applicant is proposing 5 different floor plans, and the homes within this particular neighborhood will range from 1,430 square feet to 2,091 square feet. The existing lot sizes within this tract range from 6,124 square feet to 12,082 square feet. And here in this table identifies the lot mix of plans that they plan. It's approximately 20% split across the board for the 102 lots. Here are some of the samplings of the various plan types. The plan types include Spanish style, ranch, and traditional. This is the smaller, or the smallest plan that they have, Plan 1. It goes through to Plan 5. They have provided diverse methods of architectural enhancements. And the architectural colors and materials are consistent with the overall design of the homes. In review, staff finds that the project complies with all of the required setbacks, building heights, walls, landscaping, development standards for planning area 12 within the Mcsweeney Farms specific plan. The project is in compliance with the single-family residential design guidelines and the Mcsweeney Farms plan design guidelines, as well as the city's general plan. The council adopted an environmental impact report in 2003, and a notice of determination was filed in accordance with the requirements in November 12, 2003. That was for the entire specific plan. Since then, there's been no legal challenge that's been brought against the environmental determination. This project would not result in any increase in density or changes to the previously approved EIR. Therefore, it is in compliance with Section 15162 of the state CEQA guidelines. Property owners were notified within a 500-foot radius of the project, and were notified on March 4th with a 10-day mailed notice hearing, and then the newspaper was published in the Press Enterprise on March 5th. With that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution PC 2021 for Site Development Review SDR 20-009 and Model Home Complex MHC 21-002 is illustrated in the development plans in the staff report shown in attachment Exhibit 1B through 1E and subject to the conditions of approval in Exhibit 1A. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for the staff? Pretty straightforward.
I do have a question about the flood tunnel in the back. Would that be considered complete with that flood tunnel back there? Because I've been taking several walks behind Mcsweeney's where the flood tunnel is, and this last rain we had, a lot of it caved in. And I don't know if that's considered a completed flood tunnel or is that still in development since they're developing Richmond Homes and KB Homes.
The Cactus Valley Wash, the infrastructure is still in progress. That is why one of the conditions of approval by engineering is that flood insurance be provided by the home builder until such time as the flood map has been modified and those master drainage infrastructure improvements have been completed.
I just wanted to look at the street layout again to make sure there's sufficient access going in and access coming out.
So access to the development you would come down State Street. We can start with the aerial image. So you would come down State Street and make a left, go eastbound on Mcsweeney Parkway. You would turn right on South Village Loop, and then you would you'd make a left into the subdivision, into Homeward Street.
Homeward Street, okay, right there. So you come in that way. If that street was blocked, how would you get out?
So based on that subdivision, you would be able to circulate out towards Homeward Street. You would go eastbound on Farmstead. You could make a left on Stargazer Street around to Homeward Street. And Homeward Street, northbound, there is an access point just to the north. You can make a left turn out on Parsnip, and that will take you back to South Village Loop. It's not shown here because that where it terminates is where the Richmond American development continues, but there's street connection between the two subdivisions.
So this is a dead end here?
It's not a dead end, that's an entrance into the subdivision.
Oh, okay. And this over here, starting this here, this thing is not working. There it is.
Yes, that currently, the lot to the south
Yeah.
is a future home builder. There is a design slated for that development, and it will have access through, but it's not configured now. It's currently vacant land, but ultimately there will be access that to the property to the south, and there will also be access from currently as proposed through Farmstead Street. You would take Stargazer Street to the north, if in the event that street was blocked for any reason, for any unknown reason. If Farmstead Street was, we wouldn't foresee that as this development, but if for any reason there was an emergency.
Yeah, like a fire, these people had to evacuate.
Right.
Right, they would come out this way if this is blocked. If this is blocked, they would
Right.
come out this way.
Exactly.
Okay, and this would potentially be an exit to that.
Yes.
Okay.
It would have its own access.
And the Richmond project to the north is currently in construction right now, right? So those streets will be completed.
Yes, they're in yes. So the streets are pretty much on the Richmond side. They're working along with those connections. I've driven through that subdivision, and also there has been street connections on Homeward Street. It actually has been continued. I think there's been some kind of construction that's been done on Homeward Street, even in this particular.
Going south into the
South
no,
into
the no dash track, the property to the south, or just through this?
Just through this development.
I see. Right. Does KB have the track to the south, or is it still with Raintree, and we don't have a builder on that one yet?
I believe it's going to be just correspondence. It will be another home builder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you so much. So we'll go ahead and open public hearing. And is the applicant here? Or online?
Good evening.
Would you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, this is Vernell Wood, Director for Planning for KB Home, 36310 Inland Valley Drive in the city of Wildomar.
Great, thank you. Anything you want to say about the project?
Certainly. First of all, and probably more importantly, good evening, Chairman Ward. Good evening, Additional Chairman. KB is excited to be partnering again with the City of Hemet on this project. I do have one comment. The city staff has been nothing short of remarkable. In the time when us planners or directors are unable to get in front of city staff to ask questions, I understand because I work in many of the cities south of the 91, how difficult it is to do that, and with the ongoing emails and phone calls, your staff has been nothing shy of amazing. My principal planner has been great, and I'm not saying that just because she did an amazing job, but I asked a question and she's spot on. Engineering department has been equally responsive and timely, so Katie's excited. I hope that we decide to purchase more land in the city of Hemet because this has been a true pleasure working with the staff in general. So I'm here if you have any questions, and just thank you.
Well, thank you for that. That's definitely appreciated. Any questions for the applicant?
I was kind of curious if he would be willing to give us an average price point of these houses.
I'm not sure if that's.
Well, he doesn't have to answer that. But,
I'm not sure if that's really what.
I mean, generally speaking, we try not to get too much into the finances of their project, but if the applicant wants to volunteer that information to educate the commission, they're free to do so. If you can hear me, applicant, they wanted to know generally what the price point was.
Today I don't have the actual price point that we would begin with. I honestly don't have it, but I can easily pass that on to the planner after I confirm with sales and marketing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming to the city of Hemet, and we look forward to seeing the Mcsweeney Farms development continue to get built out. It's a very nice master plan, specific plan, and it's neat to see progress out there. So, welcome to Hemet.
Thank you. Excited to be there. Chairman Ward.
Are there any other public comments? E-comments submitted?
Are there any callers on the line that would wish to speak on this item? We did not receive any e-comments.
Okay, great. Well, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public hearing. Thoughts?
I'd just like to say to the applicant that I knew the Mcsweeney family personally, and this was I think I have my mic is on. I know that this whole project was a dream that they had to put in quality homes and a nice project. They owned the property since 1953. G. Roger Brubaker sold it to them. And especially Patricia Mcsweeney, I think she would be pleased with this project along with the others that have gotten, but especially pleased with the layout of what you've done with the houses. I think the single-story plans are very good.
Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that community is looking really nice as it continues to grow up. So, all right. Well, any other comments? Otherwise, we will enter a motion.
I'd like to make a motion for Planning Commission to adopt Resolution PC 2021 for Site Development Review SDR 20-009 and Model Home Marketing Complex MHC 21-002 as illustrated in the development plan shown in the attachment 1 Exhibit 1B through 1E and subject to conditions of approval.
Second.
Motion passes 4-0 with Commissioner Linke abstaining, or accusing. All right. Well, thank you and welcome again.
Thank you very much. Everyone have a great evening.
You also. All right. Moving on to item 7B. Welcome back. This is for extension of time, 21-001 for the Shop and Go.
Yes. Good evening. The extension of time 21-001 for Shop and Go. The applicant is Gurpreet Singh Kak. The owner is Khalsa USA LLC. The project is located on the southwest corner of Sanderson and Fruitvale Avenues, and the APMs 444-100-007 and 022. The extension of time is a request for 2 years, and it is for tentative parcel map 37564, and this is a property of 4.34 acres that is being proposed to be divided into 3 commercial lots. The extension of time is also for conditional use permit 16-008 for the construction and operation of a commercial center comprised of a 3,607 square foot convenience store, a 1,500 square foot service retail, a 4,800 square foot canopy with 16 gas pumps for phase 1, and 3,278 square foot drive-through restaurant and a 17,500 square foot retail building with a drive-through for phase 2. And the extension of time is also for variance 18-001, to allow a driveway on the southeast corner of the project site and off of a proposed Chianti Drive to be placed approximately 100 feet from the corner of the intersection of Chianti Drive and Sanderson, rather than the 150 feet per Development Standard 90-897 of the Hemet Municipal Code. The general plan is neighborhood commercial. The zoning is C1, the two are consistent. Here is an aerial view of the site. We have Sanderson, north and south, Fruitvale, east and west, and then Menlo further south, east and west. The extension of time for Criminative Parcel Map 37564 was approved in March 19, 2019, and this illustration shows the location of the property lines that are being proposed. This pointer isn't working, but it's, as you can see, the lot is split into 3 commercial, lots. The conditional use permit is for the construction of the gas station, the drive-through restaurant, and the drive-through retail. So here we are being shown the convenience store, and then the adjacent 1,500 square foot service retail, and then the right and left and back sides of the building. Now, the applicant is also requesting a modification to the CUP, and we're going to review that in another project, but I just wanted to indicate that that tower element of the convenience store is where the second story is being proposed, and the side and rear elevations are shown here as well. The conditional use permit is, again, for a gas station. This shows the canopy for phase 1, the gas station canopy. This shows phase 2, which is the drive-through restaurant that would be in that center lot. And we do not have architecture for the 17,000 square foot retail with a drive-through. This is a site plan showing the location of the gas station with the canopy, the retail adjacent to that to the south, and then to the north of that retail drive-through, and then the retail with the drive-through further north. Now, the variance 18-001, here's an illustration showing where Chianti Drive is proposed on the south, the lower part of the photo, and that entrance into the gas station typically would be placed 150 feet further west. But as we can see, it's a pretty narrow lot, and then that's why that approach into the gas station is only 100 feet from the intersection of Sanderson and Chianti rather than the 150. Here's a photo just showing looking south from Fruitvale to vacant lot with curb and gutter. And pursuant to Government Code 66463.5, a tentative parcel map may be extended by the Planning Commission a period not to exceed 6 years. Pursuant to Hemet Municipal Code, Section 90-42.8, the Planning Commission has the authority to extend the time limit of a conditional use permit up to a period of 3 years. And pursuant to Hemet Municipal Code 90-44.8, the Planning Commission has the authority to extend the time of a variance for a maximum of 3 additional years. The project was notified on March 4th to property owners and tenants located within a 500-foot radius of the site, and they were noticed with a 10-day hearing, and the public hearing was advertised in Press Enterprise on March 5th, 2021. This project was reviewed by an initial study that looked at the aesthetics, air quality, drainage, traffic, and circulation. And on March 19, 2019, the Planning Commission adopted Resolution 19-004EA for a mitigated negative declaration and mitigated monitoring program prepared for Stop and Go. And a notice of determination was filed 5 days prior to, 5 days after the project was approved. This extension of time does not substantially change the previous certified mitigated negative declaration, so no further CEQA review is required. The recommendation is that the Planning Commission approve Resolution PC 2021, approving the extension of time 21-001 for a 2-year extension for tentative parcel map 37564, CUP 16-008, and variance 18-001. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff?
Okay, so a couple of questions is, this was extended from 2 years, right?
It was approved in 2019, and it was good for 2 years, so it expires this year in March.
But, and then there was a 3-year, a 6-year, a 3-year, and a 3-year. Could this potentially be 12 years, or is that...
The applicant has let us know that they actually had requested 1-year extension, and that was to complete plans to start construction later this year. We thought it would be safe to extend it 2 years, but yeah, the extension, we could give it a 3-year extension if that's what they had.
I mean, I wouldn't prefer that. I was just asking. And then
right.
A quick question on the drive-through retail of the over 17,000 square foot. Is there a limitation on the types of businesses that can go in there, or is it specific to a limited amount of, like, what is that? How does that work?
The limitation is only based on the zoning designation, which currently is a C1, neighborhood commercial. So any businesses or uses that are permitted within C1 would be permitted, and anything that requires a conditional use permit use will be coming back to this body for an approval.
Okay. Those are my only questions.
As a quick follow-up on that, so the difference between what use would require a CUP versus what use would not is based on zoning?
That is correct.
I don't mean to sound dumb, but could you go into that a little bit more? So, for example, if it was Walgreens or something like that, what's the criteria besides just zoning that would cause it to come back to the commission?
So basically, all drive-through components would require conditional use permit approval, regardless whether they're fast food entity or a drugstore with a drive-through pickup window. All of those drive-through component will require conditional use permit. So if they had that component that they would like to exercise, then that would come back to you as a conditional use permit. Any retail stores would be just a permitted use within that zone. So that would be one of the examples, but there are other examples that the uses get too intense or it's a little more involved within a neighborhood commercial, then it would require a conditional use permit, where a C2 general commercial may allow it based on its permitted use section.
Gotcha.
So there's a slight difference, not a lot, but there are some differences in there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you're going to have a drive-through, it's kind of similar to what we had in Page Ranch or in the Page Plaza, having some input on the impact to the residents that are close by. So, thank you.
I did have one question. I noticed there was a lot of residential around this plot. Was there any response to the public notice?
There wasn't.
No.
No.
Okay. All right.
Anything else?
The street that is dirt right now, so they're going to be responsible for putting that street in. Who's putting the street in there?
Chianti Road, I believe it was. Yeah, the builder is going to be putting that in, or the owner. And they are also working with the church to the south for access where it does encroach into that property.
Commissioner, if I could expand on that. So the builder is responsible for half width of the street plus one lane if there's not an existing roadway. So that way you'll have a two-way access into that property. So in this particular case, it would build curb, gutter, and sidewalk plus half width of the lane plus one lane on the opposite side of that center point.
And is there anything is the church directly to the south?
They are directly to the south. I think there is some vacant land between the two.
So there is some potential for that street getting finished out by the next developer?
I can look at the aerial view.
Oh, wow. Not much.
Driveways work.
The parcel to the south, that I'm assuming it's just that kind of that rectangle, or a rectangle from.
I believe it's the square, which would be twice the width of the center, the shopping center, and then down to Menlo.
Chairman, I believe church owns the entire square.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering.
The church site.
I'm going to see if I can't be as stable as you. So the church already has their CUP. What we're probably going to be seeing here is that the southern side of that street is probably going to remain a half width plus one lane for the foreseeable future.
Wouldn't that need to be developed if the parcel to the west was developed? Maybe it would be still a half street, but
it would still be.
When they did this project, or when they came in, you were here. They talked about that back in 2019. Remember? Do you? Sorry.
If you say so, you have a really good memory. But I guess the point is this, that there's no recourse for the city at some point to finish up that street unless development occurs and the church comes in to finish up something.
Chair, maybe I can add a little bit. I did, while everyone was talking, I did bring up the map. If you go back to that aerial view, the undeveloped irregular portion of the church site looks like there was a subdivision of that square at some point. And so it looks like that irregular sort of dirt area is available for development of some kind. And so my expectation would be when that area is developed, you will see the full improvements of the
Then the only other question I had was kind of just informative for myself. I'm sorry, was there anything else from the commission before? Okay. So we changed the requirement for driveway in 2017 from 35 feet to 150 feet. I'm assuming, but maybe you can elaborate, that the purpose of that is for safety, for traffic safety?
I could teach me.
That is correct. It's to allow additional stacking distance for left turn pockets, for people making left turn movements out of the facility. So 150 feet was a good distance, a safe distance that provided that. But in certain instances, especially in this case where the property is not wide enough to accommodate that, we make sure that we can accommodate for safe movements, and that's when the variance was requested for that. And city engineer has reviewed and looked at it and doesn't find that it's going to be a major impact to that left turn movement.
There's not a lot of options, for sure, but you start having, when you pull out of that lower street, are they going to be able to, is that going to be a right turn only or left turn and right turn? Do we have that?
I believe it will have both movements, left and right turn.
We'll go ahead and open up. Thank you very much. We'll open up public hearing. Is the applicant here? Yes. Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record.
Greg Hahn, architect, Empire Design Group, Marietta, California. I want to thank the commission tonight and Soledad for helping get this moving in a better direction. Our applicant put it on hold for a while and came back and he made some changes, and kind of why we're here, but then we ran out of time too. But we are actually working on the construction drawings. To answer your question about the street, we're actually improving the whole street.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, we had to make a deal with the church. So, but I actually worked out the deal with the church. So, obviously, they're not building anything, so they don't really have to give anything. You have a code where you get a lane, so it's usable. But we're going to take more and put the sidewalk and curb gutter.
Oh wow! Okay.
And I've worked extensively with the church. Is it Prince of Peace? Yes. Sorry. So yeah, and they're very nice people. So there is a problem with I'm surprised you didn't get any calls. We had a lot of people when we had this approved. Because they didn't really want the street to go through because they're concerned about people getting into the neighborhood. So there was a lot of concern about that. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out because there's another piece of property involved. But the church has had issues too with people cutting through. So we're trying to help out the situation, and we work closely with staff. Staff's really good in Hemet, by the way. And actually heard KB Homes say you guys are really good, and you are. And I'll agree with that. So, and you got one of the best planners I know. I've known him for 30 years.
Thank you.
So if you have any questions...
You're going to stick around, right?
I hope so.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And thank you for working with the church on that street. That would be something. All right. Are there any other comments or public comments online or e-comments?
We did not receive any e-comments. Is there anyone on the teleconference line that would like to speak?
I just wanted to say that I'm representing the church.
Good evening. Would you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Richard Range. I'm the president of the congregation at the Prince of Peace Lutheran Church. And we have been working with the developer.
Very good. Thank you. Is there something that you'd like to say about the project, or are you?
Well, I'd like to see it go forward. It's been quite a while since we've heard anything about it.
So you obviously have no objections to it then?
No, not at all.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you very much for attending and for commenting, and for working with the developer to get that street improved.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anyone else online? All right. We'll go ahead and close public hearing and comments, discussion. If none, entertain a motion.
I'd like to move to approve Planning Commission Resolution number PC 2021, attachment number 1, approving extension of time 21-001 for 2-year extension for tentative parcel map 37564, conditional use permit 16-008, and variance 18-001, subject to updated conditions of approval for TPM and CUP only, and reference Exhibit 1B.
I second.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to, well, actually, same project, but 7B for modification of conditional use permit 16-008 mod.1 for the shop and go. Welcome back.
Thanks. Okay, now that the extension of time has been approved, I want to propose a small modification. It's the same applicant, same information here, but the description of the project is for the modification of conditional use permit 16-008, which involves an approximate 1,000 square foot second-story manager's office, staff meeting room addition above the previously approved convenience store. Here we have the general plan land use designation, consistent with the zoning and the aerial view. Here we're showing the site plan, and the addition is going to be to the building, which is on the south side of this property, right there. Now this is the approved height of the convenience store with the 1,500 square foot adjacent retail, and this is part of phase 1. Now if you notice here, the height of these different heights are from 20 feet 6 inches to 28 feet. And this is what's being proposed. It's a second story is on this tower element, and it is approximately 1,000 square feet, and the height ranges from 21 feet 5 inches to 32 feet in height. So the overall difference is from 28 to 32, so that's 4 foot difference in what was approved and what is being proposed. Here is the proposed floor plan of the second story, showing interior stairs, a covered patio, a meeting room with a kitchenette, storage and a restroom, and an office with a bathroom. The remaining of the project will be as approved, with the canopy, the drive-through restaurant, and the retail with the drive-through further north. And this is again the view from Fruitvale. Per section 90-4 only the approving authority shall approve modifications or revisions to approved applications, and only after the hearings required in this chapter. Modifications must be found to be in substantial conformance to the purpose and intent of the original approval. On March 4th, property owners and tenants within a 500-foot radius of this site were notified of the public hearing with a 10-day hearing notice, and the hearing was also advertised in the press enterprise on March 5th. Although modifications to an approved conditional use permit do not require new findings, pursuant to section 90-42.9 of the Hemet Municipal Code, the modifications must be found to be in substantial conformance to the purpose and intent of the original approval, as follows. And then here is a finding. On February 25th, 2021, the Design Review Committee reviewed the proposed second-story addition as well as the extension of time. Additionally, the Airport Land Use Committee and the Saboba Director of Cultural Resources were contacted regarding modification, and all found the proposed changes to be in conformance with the original approval, with no changes to the conditions of approval being made, except for updating some of the conditions. The modification to the conditional use permit includes the modification to the conditions of approval include updating the expiration date to March 19th, 2023, and Public Works added updated conditions 178 through 200, which reflect changes to landscaping and irrigation, trash enclosure requirements, which have changed in general and apply to all developments. For these reasons, and for the reasons more fully described in the project description and analysis section of the report, staff believes that the Planning Commission may find that the proposed change is in substantial conformance to the original proposal. Therefore, the substantial conformance criteria can be met, and the original findings still apply. There was an initial study done on this project, which reviewed aesthetics, air quality, drainage, traffic, circulation, and a resolution 19-004 was approved by the Planning Commission for a mitigated negative declaration and a mitigation monitoring program prepared for Shop and Go, and a notice of determination was filed at that time. The proposed modification to add 1,000 square feet does not propose substantial changes to the previous certified the certified mitigated negative declaration, so no further CEQA review is required. The recommendation is that the Planning Commission approve Resolution PC 2021 approving the modification to Conditional Use Permit 16-008. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Questions for staff? All right, we'll go ahead and open up public hearing. And I apologize. I should put a seat a little closer. And again, if you wouldn't mind your name and address for the record.
Gregory Hahn, architect, Empire Design Group, Marietta, California.
Great, thank you. All right, are there any questions for?
No questions.
No questions. Okay, that's good.
All right, well,
okay.
I
know the applicant, he's actually in India right now, but he's very excited about this project. So, and he's a really nice person. You're nice. He's a good guy to have in your community for sure.
Very good, very good. Yeah. What did Chairman Gifford always want? Certain marshals or something? I always had a list. All right. Are there any comments on e-comments submitted, or anybody online that would wish to speak to this project? All right.
There were no e-comments submitted.
Hearing none, we'll close public hearing. And discussion, no discussion. We'll entertain a motion.
I recommend that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution PC 2021, Attachment Number 1, approving the modification to Conditional Use Permit 16-008, subject to the conditions of approval, Exhibit 1B. Am I reading the wrong one?
Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. There's so many sevens. And 2, find the proposed modifications are in substantial conformance with original approval.
I'll second.
Motion passes 5-0. And so that I have a very hard time with the mitigated negative declaration as well. That's why M&D is just a lot easier. Okay. Moving on to item 7D, Site Development Review 20-015 for the O'Reilly's Auto Parts and Retail Expansion within the Plaza Commercial Center.
Thank you, Chairman Worth, members of the Planning Commission, and the public. My name is Monique Alanis-Slater, the project planner for Site Development Review 20-015 for the O'Reilly's Auto Parts and Retail Expansion at Page Plaza. The applicant is Christine Simmons with Rich Alvarado LLC, the property owner. Page Plaza is located at the southwest corner of South Sanderson Avenue and Stetson Avenue. The project is a request to construct a new 7,453 square foot O'Reilly's Auto Parts store on Pad 4B within the Page Plaza Shopping Center. The project also includes a 10,000 square foot addition to the existing Bed Bath & Beyond, and a 5,001 square foot addition for 5 commercial tenant spaces within Pad 4A. Site improvements include parking, landscaping, loading areas, site lighting, and trash enclosures. The project site is located within the Page Plaza Shopping Center, which is developed with approximately 360 square feet of various commercial and retail uses and associated parking, including the 220,000 square foot Walmart Supercenter, a pharmacy, a bank, convenience store, a gas station, multiple restaurants on approximately 40 acres. The proposed retail expansion area, let me kind of go back. The retail expansion area is 4A and 4B. It's located at the northwest section of the commercial center, as illustrated here. Surrounding land uses include vacant land zoned for industrial and commercial development to the north, Page Plaza to the south and east, and medical offices to the west, residential to the east, and also the industrial at the southeast corner of San Anderson and Stetson. The general plan of the property is designated as community commercial and is zoned Page Plaza specific plan 00-01. This is the overall master site plan for the center, and the expansion area is identified, highlighted in yellow. So the expansion area highlighted here, a portion of the site is developed now is vacant, but it also has 23 parking spaces on the site now that are being utilized. So those spaces would be replaced and reconstructed. This development would include 39 parking spaces due to the new site layout, including 2 ADA spaces primarily serving the O'Reilly Auto Parts store, which is in Pad 4B. If you would notice, although there are 3 existing ADA parking spaces available, illustrated in yellow to the south of the expansion area, although there's access, it is recommended that an additional ADA parking space be provided where illustrated on the plan adjacent to the expansion shops on the north side of the building, where it says future shops, 5,001 square feet. And that is incorporated in recommended conditions. The proposed architecture, this is the expansion, retail expansion. It is primarily contemporary architectural style. It includes cement plaster exterior, foam cornice treatments with smooth plaster finish, fabric awnings, stone veneers, concrete blocks, and metal trellis-like fixtures. The proposed height for the anchor building retail expansions ranges from 24 feet to 30 feet 5 inches. as measured to the top of the parapet. The retail expansion area is designed truly to match the architectural style of the anchor building. And this is the floor plan for the expansion. The proposed architectural style, the overall color scheme for O'Reilly's is also designed to be complementary in colors and materials that are well integrated into the shopping center. Those materials include exterior split face, CMU block, stone veneer, fabric awnings, and trellis features with metal canopy. The overall height and scale of both buildings and the expansion area are complementary to the existing commercial buildings within the shopping center. This is the floor plan for O'Reilly's Auto Parts. The proposed exterior colors and materials. The plant palette for the landscape plan is in compliance with the Page Plaza specific plan design guidelines. The existing trees and plant materials within the right-of-way on Stetson will remain and be preserved in place and consistent with our city-approved plant palette. The overall parking does comply with the minimum of 5% parking area shall be landscaped with live plant materials, not including trees, shrubs, and ground cover. The required landscaping can be in the form of landscape island strips and tree wells. The overall landscaping for this expansion and 4A and 4B is approximately 5% of the landscape area. On March 5th, 2021, the city gave public notice by advertising in the Press and Enterprise to the tenants within 500 feet of the property, and also within 500 feet, the notice of hearing was mailed on March 4th, 2021. To date, staff has not heard or received any comments from the public. The project is exempt from our CEQA guidelines based on the previously approved negative declaration for the Page Plaza community specific plan, and no substantial changes have occurred for the site development review. Based on this, it is recommended that the Planning Commission adopt Planning Commission Resolution PC 2021 approving site development and review SDR 20-015, subject to the findings and conditions of approval in attachment Exhibit 1A. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? So this will finish it up, except for the remaining drive-through on the. Great. Outstanding. All right, thank you very much, Nathan. Go ahead and open up public hearing. Is the applicant here or online?
Yes, Pat Johnson, representing Rich Development Company, the applicant.
Thank you. Would you mind stating your address for the record, please?
I heard. Okay. My address is 600 North Tustin Avenue, Suite 150 in Santa Ana, California, 92705.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? All right. Well, thank you for finishing out this this commercial center here, and looking forward to having the vacant lot completed. Are there? Assuming you are okay with all the conditions of approval?
Yes, the conditions of approval are fine, and we work with staff. We're very happy with the way it's coming out, and we're looking forward to getting this project a little bit more leased up and moved forward. So we're very excited. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do you have just out of curiosity, do you have an anticipated start of construction time frame?
Well, we're waiting to get this approval to make sure that we don't have any additions. So we'll probably begin construction documents in the next month or so. We obviously have to get some of the details worked out with our tenant, and if plans take 8 weeks and figure 12 weeks for a permit, we're probably looking somewhere around 4 or 5 months to start construction.
Very good, thank you. All right. Are there any other public comments? Anything online? Anything submitted on e-comments?
We did not receive any e-comments.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being available and continuing this development. And with that, I'll close the public hearing.
Absolutely.
Discussion?
I call the question of, this used to be in Page Ranch redevelopment area. And so I know a lot has changed, especially since Governor Brown basically stole redevelopment from the cities, is my opinion. So there's nothing that's an advantage property tax-wise like they used to have in the old redevelopment areas, or is there?
I'll try to answer that, but I don't believe there are any tax benefits or credits available for this site.
And for the planning commissioners, redevelopment were areas that were set up for 40 years that were, the cities basically got a bigger portion of the property tax so that they could put, that's how we built the library. And that's how we did other improvement projects in the city, and that's what they were set up to do originally. So they took, and we set up Page Plaza. That was a really good generator for quite a while until they took it away. And I knew that they had taken away, I just didn't know if there was any residual benefit that came from the old redevelopment areas, and I guess it's not.
Like I said, you have a spectacular memory.
It's just,
Okay.
I look for that money anywhere.
Well, absolutely. All right. Well, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to obtain a motion to the Planning Commission adopt Planning Commission Resolution PC 2021 approving site development SDR 20-015 subject to finding and conditions of approval. Attachment number 1 and Exhibit 1A.
I'll second.
Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations and thank you. All right. Item 7E is for the conditional use permit for 20-005 and site development review 20-008 for the Sunny Car Wash. Good evening again.
Good evening, Commissioner Ward, members of the Planning Commission, and the public. My name is Monique Alanese Flater, project planner for Conditional Use Permit 20-005 and Site Development Review 20-008. The applicant is Sin Arc Studio. Property owner is Brendan Choi. The project site is located east of the northeast corner of South Gilbert Street and West Stetson Avenue. The request is to construct a 5,580 square foot building consisting of an express car wash tunnel, office building, mechanical area, and customer booth located on 1 acre lot. The project also includes self-service vacuum stalls accessible outside the tunnel for customer use, parking, lighting, and landscaping. The property site is a vacant parcel located with frontage on Stetson Avenue, east of the northeast corner of South Gilbert Street in Stetson. Surrounding land uses include the then senior living apartments to the north, a Stetson Plaza to the south, auto zone to the east, a medical office building to the west, and other commercial uses in the surrounding area. The general plan land use designation is C1 Community Commercial, and the property is zoned C1 Community Commercial. The overall site plan illustrated here includes a total of 22 dual functioning self-service vacuum parking spaces, one ADA self-service vacuum stall, 23 parking with self-vacuum spaces for customers. In addition, the 3 employee parking spaces are provided, and one ADA accessible employee parking space, and with a total of 4 employee parking spaces. The total of 27 spaces exceeds the requirement for this type of use. The overall circulation is that the car wash proposes a 12-foot wide single lane drive-through off Stetson Avenue, accessible from Stetson Avenue. The initial queuing drive-through lane is designed to accommodate stacking of 7 vehicles. Beyond that point, each lane, the drive-through lane splits into a double queuing lane designed for stacking of 3 vehicles in each lane up to the pay stations. And the circulation route of the drive-through is a horseshoe design entering into the car wash tunnel. Upon exiting the car wash tunnel, vehicles will make a left turn, exit, then continue into counterclockwise into the self-service bays via a 25-foot wide, 25 to 26-foot wide drive aisle. One way, there could be 2 points of egress out of the site. You could back up out of the bay, the self-service bay. You could make a turn towards Stetson and out, but the general circulation pattern is illustrated here. It shows that the vehicles would flow in a clockwise direction with no do not enter signage for that one-way drive aisle exiting the development. The overall architecture of the development is a contemporary architectural style, and it includes a variety of materials, including concrete plaster and stucco exterior, horizontal dark brown wood flat siding, gray metal panels, dark gray metal canopies with dark orange vacuum roofing. Other features include green screen trellises along the west elevation, which is illustrated at the elevation at the bottom of this screen. Also, landscaping around the building bases, bench areas, a bench area and water feature area for waiting, trash enclosure that would match the site. The proposed building height ranges from 20 feet 8 inches to 28 feet 6 inches from the top of the parapet. The overall style, colors, and materials will be complementary to the site and the area. Here are a few renderings that illustrate more clearly what it might up here at the back when vehicles are at the pay station waiting to enter into the car wash.
Can I stop you real quick right there? Are those cars, the direction of the cars right now, are they facing south or are we, how's that?
So the direction of the vehicles are facing west. So in this aerial bird's eye view, yes, the vehicles are traveling west at the pay station location. And then they would make a counterclockwise into the entrance of, yes.
The property to the west, they have a really nice architectural design that's nice, it's appealing. Is that building setting up against and in front of that, kind of hiding it now?
This building will be set back approximately 40 feet from the back of the sidewalk or the parkway, so it would not completely block the building that is there now. It is the building that is there, the medical offices to the west. They are positioned closer to the street. However, there would be a line of sight to the medical offices for vehicles traveling both east and westbound. These are the colors and materials that they're proposing for the building. This is the landscaping proposed. It complies with the minimum landscape criteria. Additionally, they are providing a 10-foot landscape buffer adjacent to residential to the north. On March 5th, 2021, the city gave public notice and by advertising in the press enterprise and by mailing to property owners and tenants within 500 feet. And the mailing went out on March 4th prior to the holding of the public hearing, which the project will be considered by the Planning Commission. To date, staff has received a letter of opposition by the name of Amar Lapsi, Chief Operating Officer of the Stetson Group, Inc., who represents 430 West Stetson Avenue. It is adjacent to the medical offices to the west. Mr. Lapsi requested that I read his comments and concerns for the project. Hi, Monique. In response to public hearing related to conditional use permit determination and site development review SDR for the project address above, we represent the adjacent properties of 430 West Stetson Avenue, Hemet, California 92543. We wish to oppose the development of the Sunny Car Wash for reasons stated below. Number one, non-professional. The project is non-professional and does not adhere to the nature of businesses in the vicinity as either professional, office, medical, or retail use. Two, environmental. The car wash and ancillary services they offer, they define as mechanical use as gas control stations and oil replacement, will engage in use of hazardous chemicals, oils, and outside agents that will seep adjacent property owners and their underground water supply. This will result in permanent harm to adjacent properties that car wash will claim non-responsibility in remediating. Three, disturbance to quiet enjoyment. The car wash will result in increased noise and crowding, thereby affecting medical patients that visit our facility. Noise and crowding for car washes are generally open, unconfined, and non-enclosed, disrupting our patients attempting to obtain health services. And number four, increased traffic. The car wash attracts motorists throughout the community, which will negatively impact traffic in the area of Stetson Avenue. Its possible lines to enter the car wash will spill onto Stetson. For these reasons, we strongly oppose the development of the project. So with that, with this being addressed, or these comments being addressed, the applicant is also here tonight that can also respond. This will conclude my presentation. Should the Planning Commission wish to approve this project this evening, it would be recommended that the Planning Commission adopt Planning Commission Resolution PC 2021 approving Site Development Review SDR 20-015, subject to the findings and conditions of approval in Attachment 1 and Exhibit 1A. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Michelle?
Can you go back to the aerial view? It shows the trash bin. Yeah, is that one there?
Yes.
I gotta get my little pointer for it. So this is the trash bin here?
That's correct.
Okay. I gotta say, did you guys look at how's the trash truck gonna get in there and get out? And,
yes.
It looks pretty tight.
We did.
Especially with this curve right here.
So we did review that. That was a comment that came up at even the second development review committee. The applicant did revise the overall circulation to meet the minimum radius requirements for the trash pickup, to be able to access the trash and be able to egress to the site. So Public Works is in support of the project and it did approve the overall circulation and trash enclosure location.
Really? Because it looks like once that trash truck is there, there's no traffic in through. And any in or out.
Commissioner Hill, if I can explain it a little bit better. The trash can is located here. If you look at the map.
Yeah.
The trash can is located here. So once the truck comes in, it'll be stopping at this point, not clear, leaving a clear access for this area. So the truck would come in, enter here, pull the trash bins out, dump, and then they'll exit out with this. So the service will not need to stop at this point at all.
Okay. All right. I still think that's a little tight.
I actually got 4 questions. Originally 5, but you mentioned that. Water efficiency. Can you explain exactly how the water efficiency works at a car wash like this? Do they recycle their water? Do they use continual new water? How is it water efficiency?
The applicant is here this evening and may be able to expand upon water treatment. They have a filtration system, and then it will be prior to entering into the storm drain. They did mention that as a response, and they will be able to respond more clearly with regards to the concerns expressed with regards to chemicals and drainage.
So the new water for every car that goes through is this new water that they're using, or is it using a recycled water system with filtration?
Yes. So will the applicant?
We can ask that during when we open up public hearing.
The other question, I have a few more. Number 14 on page, I believe 19. I'm not sure why, but O'Reilly's is mentioned in it. Is that something that we're reflecting on? Because it mentions electrical and mechanical equipment, including but not limited to air conditioning units, et cetera, but it goes proposed for the O'Reilly Auto Parts store and retail expansion shall provide screening from public. Is that a typo, or are we using?
We apologize. That's a typo. That should have been changed to Sunny Car Wash. Yes. We apologize for that.
And then just number 35, it mentions the proposed new development is subject to the payment of school fees. as required by law, the applicant is required to submit certificate of compliance from the school district to obtain permits from the city.
Correct. All development in the city requires to pay a development impact fee, and part of that is school district fee. And they pay based on the square footage of their development, and it's based on certain cents, and it's multiplied by number of square footage.
The square footage of the building itself?
That is correct.
Is that the wash tunnel? Or is that the, or just the office?
The wash tunnel and the office.
And the last one I have is there was something mentioned in here, I can't remember where, but easement. There was an easement resolved. What was the easement issue?
Chairman Worth and Commissioner Beamsterfer. The easement is located at the rear of the property, and it's an easement currently identified for along the back 30 feet in width, is a identified drainage and access easement for the development, and it was said to be necessary for access to for the development to the north. The engineering division has requested that they clarify that they abandon the easement. The drainage would need to be maintained on site. And in addition, they would not be able to meet that access. Typically, access would also include reciprocal parking agreements for a shopping center. However, this is a standalone development. And for these reasons, we found that it would be appropriate for them to abandon that easement.
And the last question is just the noise situation. The medical building to the west, is that just radiology, x-rays, or what kind of medical building is it that they're stressed on?
It's not clear as to, but I believe it's radiology, oncology type services. Their concern was for their clients and noise impacts. The way we looked at it as in further review, we looked at what would the potential impacts be based off their concerns. The building itself, the medical office, is approximately 50 feet away from the property line of the car wash. What's interesting about this, and actually helpful to their concerns with regards to noise, is that the building, the car wash tunnel, serves as a barrier between their property and the self-service vacuum stalls. Additionally, there's a condition of approval that the hours of operation, that could also be something we can look at, is recommended to be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., which also could minimize those impacts.
I know the car wash place on Sanderson, I remember in a meeting watching that people were concerned with the openings of the car wash with the apartment complex, that they were going to get a lot of noise from the car wash itself. I know there's a senior center that is facing the entrance to the car wash center. Do we know what the noise decibel is that comes out of these car washes?
Just as reviewing a recent project, there are studies that it could be at the point source of the car wash. It could range 65, 75, and up at the point source. However, there's no study that was conducted for this. They would have to comply with the city's noise ordinance, which requires the daytime maximum of 75 decibels. And then at nighttime, 45 to 65 decibels between 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. So we could require or condition to ensure that they are complying with that they are meeting the noise criteria for the city. Additionally, the entrance of the tunnel is approximately 70 feet away from the north perimeter wall. So in addition, then you would have the additional separation between that perimeter wall to the apartments to the north. That would be over 100, maybe perhaps 130 feet away from the entrance of the tunnel.
Monique, what are the days and hours of operation for this?
It would be 7 days a week. They're proposing 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And it is recommended that the hours be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
That's in the conditions of approval, is to 7 p.m., correct?
Yes.
Commissioner Leckie?
Well, do we have a response to the email for the environmental concerns that they stated?
The applicant will be able to respond and is prepared to visit the guest.
Anything else? Commissioner Norto?
I have a few concerns. One is the way it's proposed. There's that big parapet wall on the top of the building that appears to be just for looks and not actually, it's that right there. Is that just for design, do you think, or maybe I can ask the applicant?
That is characteristic of the contemporary architectural style.
That's their semi-car wash architectural style?
The architect, the designer, that's just a general design feature or architectural element. Angular building, the wing wall design as a architectural feature for modern contemporary design.
So what, I know that there's a wall between them and the medical office building, but was there anything extra to temper the noise? And then for the medical office side, and then I am concerned about the senior community to the north. They've done a lot to redo that project. It used to be a general family apartment building. It is now a senior community, and they do a really good job, I think. I stopped and visited them months ago when the Chinese Laundry Shoes was going into the Kmart building, and we had a big chat about that. So, I think about that. You said their proposed time was 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. I know they say they're working on the noise, but you know what it might sound like if you got 10 cars, 20 cars out there doing their vacuuming and all of that. So I'm concerned about the noise and how that's going to be mitigated. And I think that's it.
Thank you. Sure.
So we have a car wash on Sanderson and Acacia, where the Quick Pack, and there's apartments there. Have you guys ever gotten any complaints or anything from, because that's about the same location. Have you gotten complaints from them? Is that an issue there?
We haven't received any complaints from that. And Commissioner Lord, if I can address.
That just might be a good.
Sure.
Barometers.
And
Citizens, people in the apartment complex were concerned about that when reporting that building.
And no, it's not. It doesn't seem.
And Commissioner Varsdale, if I can address some of your concerns. The wing wall serves two purposes. An applicant can confirm this, but it serves one, the modern architecture, as well as an additional barrier for vacuum noise to be bounced off and traveling to westbound to the medical center. Generally, on a car wash such as this, the majority of the noise comes from the fans at the end of the tunnel after the wash is completed. So the actual noise-making system would be the furthest point away from the residents to the north.
It'll be down on Stetson's side.
It'll be closer to Stetson's side, correct. And the vacuums themselves have a central vacuum unit where the hoses are along each of the stalls. So you don't necessarily have an individual vacuum like the old style where you put in the coins in. So the noise are isolated to a one point and not throughout the vacuum stalls themselves. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Back to you too. I have a couple, so if you think of something. Can you go to the planting plan real quick? Just I think that showed something I'm interested in. That. So one of my personal concerns is the amount of light from the headlights. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 cars queued up facing this direction, and if you look at there's a 2-story senior community right behind it with large windows directly behind it. That's a concern of mine. I'm assuming that the block wall that's there is all that's going to be required. It shows some planting, a tree that could possibly screen it. But right off the bat, that would be a concern that we're going to be having a lot of light headlights directly into those residences. And being senior, I would think we'd want to be especially sensitive, not to take anything away from the multifamily stuff. And then the other concern that I also have is similar to Commissioner Van Arsdale, and that's dealing with the medical office next door. Is that designed to have a block wall similar to the other? Is it like three block walls on each side of the property that are going to be at the same height on the westernly boundary?
Noted on the site plan does not indicate block walls on the westerly side. It is a landscape planner. The landscape planner as well on the west side or the east side adjacent to AutoZone. So those are landscape planner, like interconnected landscape planners that will be joined together. And the only wall that I am aware of is the existing wall on the north perimeter adjacent to it.
So these 3 parcels, the AutoZone and the medical offices, are basically going to be kind of contiguous to each other, and there's no real barrier between those, like there is between the auto club and the medical office. There's a large block wall that runs that entire perimeter that kind of separates those two things, those two uses. So that's kind of another concern. I mean, the fact that we have the medical office a little bit concerned about the project, and then just right there and no separation. And then, like I said, the other concern that I have is in regards to the impact to the senior living community up on the north side. So, any other questions for staff? Okay. So we can go ahead and open up a public hearing, and the applicant, if you are online, if you want to introduce yourself and name and address for the record, please.
I think that's our cue. My name is Jefferson Choi within our studio. I'm the architect on the project, and Justin Barth is also, I believe, online.
Yes, I'm here.
And we both represent Center Studio on this project on behalf of our client. So, Monique, thank you for your, description and discussion on behalf of our project. I think you were spot on.
Can we get your, I'm sorry, real quick, can we get your address for the record?
But unfortunately on my end, other than Monique, we could only hear maybe 20% of what everyone had said. So,
can you hear me?
Something has.
Jefferson, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Just checking.
So, unfortunately, if something has repeated, I apologize. I believe Justin and I can only hear more or less just Monique.
Okay, that's fine. I think the commission has some pretty specific questions for you. Before we move on, though, would you please give your address for the record, please?
Oh, I don't. Justin, could you repeat that?
Well, I think you mean to our address is 17200 Red Hill Avenue in Irvine.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay. So would you like to just kind of give an overview of your project, what you're planning, and then we can get into some questions for you? Now, aside, of course, from the staff report that we've already received.
Yes. And I apologize, I didn't catch your name, but you're the only other person who can hear fully. So thank you. So we are interested in designing a car wash with a tunnel, and as Monique had described, it is basically entering on the southeast corner, more or less, and the tunnel is along the western length of the property. So you enter and you make a left, you get into the queuing line, pay, and then enter into the tunnel. You're facing south, and then you exit from the south end of the tunnel, and then you circulate into the circulation to vacuum your cars. Now, I know some of the concerns, especially particularly from the medical offices, have been regarding noise, and just to kind of, I think this had been stated, but just to reiterate, the noise decibel levels that we produce from the tunnel, of course, it is the loudest right at the exit of the tunnel, but because of those reasons, we have obviously a solid wall that helps to redirect the noise not bleeding excessively to the west. And also, as someone had mentioned, most of the noise does come from the exit of the tunnel, as where the blowers drive the cars are used. And so, again, for those reasons, we have solid walls that try to help funnel the noise out to the street. And the street, we've done noise studies where, and this is obviously not our first car wash, but on all our noise studies, when you measure from the edge of the outside of the tunnel to the center of the street line, we always are within the decibel levels of a artery street. I believe, off the top of my head, something like 60, 65 decibels, somewhere in there, 70 decibels, somewhere in there. In particular, we had this noise issue before, of course, and so we've had to make substitutions to make sure that the noise fit within the acceptable decibel levels of the city. So I know there's a concern from the medical side of the buildings, and as much as we do appreciate and understand where the concerns are coming from, I believe that our noise level is equal to, if not less than, the street decibel level, especially with the distances Monique had described. And let's see, I believe that the other comments that they had were irrelevant. Like, for example, the second one with the toxic chemicals and things. We don't dispense petroleum or anything of the sort. It's just a car wash. We don't do oil changes. It's, again, just a car wash. So maybe that was a misunderstanding. Off the top of my head, I apologize. I think Justin did respond to you, Monique, with written comments.
I can address those concerns if you'd like.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hello. This is Justin with Synart Studio. Can everyone hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Well, yeah, he had four concerns, and like Jefferson was saying, the first had to do with the fact that our business had a different occupancy than office or professional. And in fact, we, both our site and the sites on either side of us have the same zone. We're zoned C1, and in fact, there's an auto parts store just to the east of us. So I think we're all in the same zone, and I understand the other concerns about noise and traffic, but I think those have actually been addressed. The second objection, environmental, like Jefferson was saying, I don't know, I think he misunderstood. We don't have any ancillary services, other than floor mat washing and vending machines. There's no hazardous chemicals or gas or oil are going to be generated by this project, and any detergents that are used by the car wash itself are going to be directed by the manufacturer's equipment to a below-grade clarifier that'll be, filtered according to requirements before entering the storm drain system. So in no way will we put any hazardous chemicals in the environment. Noise is probably the primary concern, and I think, like Jefferson mentioned and Monique has mentioned, the majority of noise is generated by the tunnel, which is directed towards the street and away from the neighbors. And in fact, it was mentioned that the loudest portion is the exit, and so we were sensitive to the concerns of there being the Zen retirement community behind us, and so of course the exit is furthest away from that point. It's facing Stetson Avenue. And also, even within the site, since this is not our first car wash, we've done several, and we've had noise studies done for some of them. We have a mechanical room in the parking lot that is going to house the equipment for the vacuum. So each stall will have its own vacuum, but it won't have the large mechanical noise. We have that in a separate room that is surrounded by a black wall with a lid on it. And the vent for that room is actually facing the interior of the site. So even what little noise is generated by that equipment is going to be contained within the site itself. So we have done noise studies for car washes that are actually a little bit larger than this one. They're 150-foot tunnels rather than 120-foot. And like Jefferson mentioned, the average decibels reaching the adjacent sites is usually less than the background noise generated by a primary artery street, which is a four-lane street like Stetson Avenue. So given that fact and the fact that, the hours of operation, we don't see noise being a problem at all for any of our neighbors. The final concern was the increased traffic. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Mr. Lapsey. Mr. Lapsey's final objection was about increased traffic. And the fact is, the typical user of a drive-through express car wash, which is what this is usually a local resident who is doing, performing errands or on their way to or from work. So the property itself will generally siphon from the pre-existing traffic rather than generate additional traffic all on its own. It's not like a store where people are coming just to go there. This is something that's they're going to be visiting the site on their way to or from something else. So significant additions to the local, vehicle miles traveled or VMT analysis, I'm sure your engineers will know what I'm talking about, were not expected for this type of use. So I think that addresses all of Mr. Lapsey's concerns.
And Justin, if I could also add to that, one more comment to the vehicular traffic. The other thing that we took into consideration was there will be times, more commonly on the weekend, where you may have more heavier flow of traffic than usual, where you might have a pile of cars, which is why we have taken the full length of the site, including the turn of the site, for queuing, and even splitting it into two. We also have taken into consideration that one car, depending on how the machines are calibrated and how fast it's pulled, usually takes anywhere from 50 seconds to a minute and a half to enter and exit the entire tunnel. So with that in mind, we thought that 13, 14 cars in queue was plenty for that rate of car wash.
Well, thank you very much.
There would never be a line of people, along westbound on Stetson, waiting to get into the property, I think that would be hazardous. And that is not a concern. I mean, that's not something we are expecting should happen.
All right, thank you very much. If it's all right, we'll go ahead. We have a couple questions for you from the commissioners. So if you could please make sure you speak into the mic.
The first question I have is basically your water efficiency. I just am curious as to if you have statistics that show we have 2 other self-car washes that are fully open that I know of that drive through, and then we have a third that's being remodeled to open up soon, and now we have you. How many gallons of water are you obviously you don't recycle water, it just goes to storm drain and you're just continuously using new water from what I'm understanding. But my question is how many gallons through since you have multiple car washes, how many gallons a day of water do you guys go through on an average?
The car washes we've done actually have varied quite a bit in size. We have shorter car washes that are 130-foot tunnels, and we also have longer car washes that are 200 feet in length. They do use various amount of water. I can't tell you honestly off the top of my head exactly how many gallons, but I can tell you, as Justin had mentioned, that all the water does go through a clarifier, and I believe a certain percentage, 40-50% or something, is actually about to go back into the storm drain, and the rest is recycled. So, but I can give you more exact data with the manufacturer's products. But it does depend on your size of your tunnel.
So if we ever come across another drought crisis, which I'm pretty sure we will in the next few years, how do you operate then?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? We only heard the end bit of that question.
I know for a long time you had drought crisis in California, especially in Southern California, and we're not necessarily in it at this moment. But if we do encounter a drought crisis again, how does an operation like you, a car wash, how does that operate in those times?
Oh, that's actually a really good question. We have not had that question posed to us. However, as I've mentioned, 50% of the water is recycled and reused. And so it does take less water than most people think. And again, those technical data, we can have exact numbers back to you.
I think that from a water perspective, and I'm sure that the city is the same way, but the water purveyors end up having a water shortage contingency plan where certain types of uses would be potentially reduced in their allocation based on priority of that use. So in the drought condition, we do have means to manage conservation in terms of prioritization of the available supply. So, any other questions? But you just try to speak into there over there. Having a hard time.
There we go. Yes, this is Van Arsdale, and in your mitigation of your water and all the pollutants that can come off of cars, I'm sure that's something that environmentally California is addressing, that makes the state address, county address, and the city address it. But in their concern here was that it seemed like the concern of the Mr. Lapsey was that there would be seepage into the soil that could to their property and need mitigation. You've built other car washes. What do you do to prevent that?
Honestly speaking, that's never been.
Well, I was going to say that actually, because of modern standards that are in place, that does not happen nowadays. There will be no oil contamination. All of the water from within the car wash is drained and channeled to an underground filter that will process and filter the water, and then some of that will go to the storm drains, and then the rest of that water will be recycled and sent back into the car wash. And they have very tight regulations about how the water has to be purified before it can be recycled and before it can go into the storm drain system. So there will be absolutely no soil contamination whatsoever or seepage of any chemicals. And like we mentioned before, we're not using any chemicals except for mild detergents for this site. And whatever washes off the cars is going to be contained and filtered before it's recycled by the car wash or led back into the storm drain.
Okay, thank you.
And for point of clarification,
this issue has been a non-issue actually. This is the first time it's come up of concerns of seepage.
If I could clarify though, you said that the water, the wastewater off of the site goes into the storm drain. It goes into the sanitary sewer, correct?
No. Correct. There are two different types of filter systems. One would be for the car wash itself and the detergents,
right,
and the recycled water, and the other one would be for the rain runoff water, the site water.
Right.
So those are two different filtration systems.
So with a little bit of water background, I agree completely with what they're saying. There's a very large source control program associated with managing wastewater influent into the treatment plants. So there's going to be a lot of monitoring of that and making sure that what's going into our sewer, into our treatment plants is actually pretty clean. So.
Of course, and if you were referencing or referring to the water going to the waste and also the runoff water from the site itself, that is of course we provide all the cut sheets and specifications for them, but those are entire different systems that we do use. Of course, for this site, we're doing underground. Justin, is that correct for this site? We're doing the underground filtration for the site water?
Yes, for the site water, we're using what's called the Storm Tech filtration system. So all of the rainwater that lands on the surface of our lot on any kind of pavement is directed to these underground Storm Tech chambers where it is clarified and processed before it goes into the storm drain system. And as Jefferson said, that's a completely different filtration system from the one that we have specifically for the car wash. So we do have two filtration systems, one for stormwater and one for the car wash.
Thank you for clarifying that. Anything else, Commissioner Van Arsdale?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay. Well, thank you guys. I guess my only remaining concern is in regards to the senior community on the north side of your project, and it's primarily associated due to the fact that I'm looking at it on Google Maps right now from a street scene, and there's quite a few large windows right there that look like they're going to be right directly in line with the. They're on the second floor. They're going to be in line with all the cars that are queuing up. And I noticed on your landscape plan that you do have a tree there. Is there any thought from your perspective on maybe some further mitigation measures, maybe some type of a landscape palette that would provide better screening from a light pollution perspective on that senior community there?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If that was a concern, because a lot of times, where we would have, let's say, in a car wash, a second story, there's concern of looking down into the property, but it's obviously reversed in this case because this is only a one-story condition. If that was a concern where those in the queuing line could look up into the second story, we could use some of that landscape buffer to plant plants like podocarpus or bamboo or things that are relatively dense and clearly be able to block any visual, direct access to those spaces.
Sure.
And we can even have it where it's written in the condition for approval where it needs to be maintained, and we can do a sight line study just to make sure we have an exact height of how high these plants need to, or these trees need to be maintained.
Sure, we could work with the applicant to beef up the landscaping along the northern perimeter wall to prevent from the headlights shining into the second story windows behind.
And you could do a sightline study to show what would be the appropriate height and.
Absolutely, we'll take care of that.
Great, thank you. And then, I guess, is there anything else from the commission? Okay. Do we have any other comments or public that would like to speak to this, or any e-comments filed on this?
No e-comments received.
I guess the only remaining concern or thought is, well, you know what, let me go ahead and close public hearing first and then discussion. My only remaining thought is in regards to this letter, and if there's any, has there been any, this question I guess for staff, it sounds like you've had conversations with Mr. Lapsey. Has there been any discussion with him on what's being proposed, and any changes that he would be happy with, or any recommendations that he's making that might make it easier for medical building?
The correspondence with Mr. Lapsey has been primarily by email. In response to his opposition, the question raised was just if he could provide me more information on which area of the building that he may have concerns with, but I haven't received any type of dialogue that would provide direction on other than opposing the project.
I'm sorry, other than what?
Other than just opposing the project. There were no recommendations provided for the project.
Is that something that staff does? You know, if you have something like this, a project that's directly adjacent, that we may reach out to the person and say, what would make it better?
Generally, what we would do is we would contact the party that is making the comment, and we would discuss the item and see what issues or concerns that they have and how we can resolve them. In this particular case, looks like we received the comment towards the end of the project, so we didn't have that extensive opportunity to go through that with the property owner. However, majority of the issues that it was raised by that email, I believe, was answered through the applicant as well as staff. And if that is the case, then we can contact the property owner after the meeting and have a discussion and talk with the property owner to let them know that this is how those concerns were addressed.
Good. Thank you.
I just know that particular building, has been empty and it's been doing construction for years and years and years, and I think they just finally went in like last year in 2020, they finally put a business in there. And he is the property owner of that business, or he's just a renter of that business?
Well, Mr. Lapsey represents the property owner.
Okay, and are they aware of the property that we're discussing that is bought by a car wash organization?
Yeah, that's this letter
No, he's saying, did he know that the car wash was going in
Oh,
when
I'm
he
sorry.
purchased it?
Because that business, that medical office, whoever's in there right now, that current tenant, just went in there last year.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So is that something that the property owner should have disclosed to that person, that there could be a car wash place going in there, or is that, because I can understand, like, if it was a sleep study office or an audiology office, noise is crucial, but this is laboratory and x-rays. So I don't see noise being that crucial to that place of business. But my only question is they just went in last year. So is that something the property owner should disclose to them, that this is going to be a car wash center here?
Well, the application was received by the city, and we notify the neighboring property owners as well as the tenants. But that is done normally about 10 calendar days prior to the meeting date of today. So if the applicant, if the property owner had any prior knowledge that this was going to be a car wash, that might have been a hearsay, that might have been something of a rumor until it's confirmed that that particular project was coming through. And the only way that we can confirm that is once we notice the project through a newspaper or individual mailouts. So that property owner may not have the proper information at the time that he was renting the place to a tenant that this will, in the future, will become a car wash. However, being that it's a vacant lot on a major thoroughfare with a commercial zoning, they would have to make an assumption that in the future, sometime, that this will get developed as a commercial property.
And I don't see, that they're having an issue with it, but they just went in last year. I mean, it's not like they've been there 15 years, and it's not, like I said, an audiology or a sleep study place where noise is crucial. And, they're an x-ray lab right off of busy streets, so I don't see that being an issue with him complaining about noise, because they have that whole concrete wall on the side of it, which is a big noise reduction anyways. That's my issue with the noise, and they're complaining about it.
Right. All right, anything else?
This one is a tough one for me because I think the noise is going to be an issue. You have the medical building there close by. It seems like this business just doesn't fit that area, that particular spot. You have the Zen senior living community right next door. It doesn't seem to be very Zen-like to have this noise. And I feel for the applicant here. I mean, and I do believe the issue that I brought up earlier about the trash truck isn't going to be an issue with. It seems to be very tight. I don't know if the applicant's willing to reduce the number of stalls to open that up so that if that turn to get out of there would be workable for a large-sized trash truck that would be coming through there. I don't know if the applicant's willing to relocate to a different location. I know that's very tough to swallow. I don't know. In my opinion, I think this is just the wrong business in the wrong place.
I have a question for the attorney.
Yes, Vice Chair.
The fact that we have basic ordinances and rules that are required, because I get what you're saying, and I struggle with that too, especially with the senior group up to the north. But when we have a property that's zoned, that we have that use as a use that can be had when they meet the decibel requirements, et cetera, et cetera. Do we have the right as a planning commission to say, I don't think it fits here, even though they meet all of those requirements?
That's an excellent question, Vice Chair. So it goes to the philosophy, I think, of the difference between permitted uses and conditionally permitted uses. When the City Council puts together the zoning code for a particular zone, and it says the following uses shall be permitted, they've made the determination that that type of use has the type of effects that, you know what, it can go anywhere in the zone. We don't really need to have a lot of oversight. When you look at specific uses such as this one, where the city council has said, this one is conditionally permitted, they're requiring that you make specific findings. Those findings are outlined in the staff report, and they're outlined in the resolution. And the reason why you have this hearing is for the exact question that many of the commissioners are struggling with right now, which is this type of use has effects on its neighbors. Those effects need to be mitigated in some way, and sometimes maybe that use is not appropriate for that particular location. One of the recommendations that I was going to make was that if it was the pleasure of the commission, perhaps you should add some additional conditions to your list of conditions of approval that could perhaps address the concerns that you have raised. That's the whole point of the conditions of approval. Obviously, staff does a really good job of giving you a whole list, but it seems like there may be some additional things that you may want to address, such as doing a sightline study and adding additional landscaping at the discretion of a planning director to address the potential headlight issue. Conformity with the city's municipal code related to noise ordinance. Now, obviously, you have to comply with that anyway, but it's nice to also have it as a condition of approval, so you're not just going to get cited for it, but maybe we can revoke your condition of approval, or your conditional use permit. There were some questions about water efficiency, perhaps pre-treatment. Now, we have a requirement that you comply with Eastern's requirements for, wastewater, but perhaps we should add some additional language in there. We want to make sure that you are complying with best practices for water reusability and for pre-treatment before it goes into the wastewater system. So those are just a few examples of conditions that you could add that may address the concerns that you are having.
So that's, and I know, and I'm very sensitive to the fact that our people who come in and start processing and moving and doing all the things that they have to do to get to this point. And I'm, certainly sensitive to the fact that the neighbors to the north might not be really as aware as they maybe should be of what's going to happen. I know the auto use, the auto zone use is probably certainly compatible. And then the medical side, I was just looking for what they could do to better mitigate the noise factor for both, and then the light factor. I think I'm pretty satisfied that the environmental mitigation is probably handled because of the strict rules of EMWD. They're pretty on it, and the cities and the states' requirements for these kind of things. So the environmental side, I think, I'm satisfied with that. But I don't know if there's a way we could either continue so that the staff could work with them on some additional mitigation that could better take care of this. I would tend to favor that.
Yeah, and that's not an unusual thing for a planning commission to do. I don't know what it is. I always find these meetings kind of fascinating. Car washes always seem to bring out these kind of questions regarding traffic and noise. You'll notice the applicant mentioned they've done noise studies on other projects, but not this one. They did not do one on this one. If that was perhaps the planning commission's pleasure, that maybe you want that information before you decide whether to approve it or not. That is certainly the kind of thing you could ask for. And that may better inform you about what mitigation measures would be appropriate. So those are the kind of things that, you certainly are capable of doing.
So, and I look at this property, and it's a sizable piece of property. It's actually bigger than most car wash parcels, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just seems like it has room to do things on it. And I agree with you on the trash situation, because I'm concerned with the trash trucks being there and blocking up traffic on Stetson. So I would like to propose that we continue this to our next meeting and ask staff if they could get with the owner to talk about possible additional mitigation measures that would help with the concerns that we've had. And I think that as far as the location, I don't think it's too bad for what, for what it is. We've got we've got gas station over there on the corner of Gilbert. We've got AutoZone. We do have the medical office, which is probably a little out of its realm because it's on a commercial retail street. He's more of a, the medical offices are a little bit more kind of out of place compared to the others.
Well, in this type of parcel is exactly the kind where you have those conflicts where the commercial that's abutting the arterial hits the residential. One of the things that I always tell people to answer your question, should they have known, is you're not entitled to an empty lot next to your house for the rest of your life. You may like it.
I did.
You could fight it.
I really like it.
But at some point, the owner of this parcel, they also have a right to reasonably develop their property. And perhaps if that, like you said, if that's the concern, maybe giving staff, I don't know if next meeting's enough time to necessarily address all the issues. That's certainly something for staff. But if you want to give staff a date certain to bring back and to come back with, for example, I would also recommend giving specific direction on, we want the headlight issue looked at, we want the noise issue looked at. If those are like the two big concerns, give them specific direction so that they know what they're hunting for.
Is there other?
I'm going to hold to the trash pickup.
And try it.
Yeah.
Where's the trash enclosure? I didn't see it. I'm sorry. Not that I need to be convinced of anything.
But the trash is...
Oh, my. Okay. I see. I see.
Who else was playing? Let's see.
Right there. You have the tunnel?
See how much more stable you are. Actually, I don't know. It might be getting a little bit more shaky by the end of the meeting.
So then the three concerns were access to the trash enclosure by refuse, the noise being sent to adjacent properties, especially the medical.
Medical and the
seniors. And the light leaving the property, especially the queuing from potential headlights.
Right, because you've got from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
I think those are things that staff. I don't want to speak for staff, but those seem
directives. And in regards to the trash truck, the trash issue, I know in projects that I've been involved with, when we're looking at facilitating access to our facilities, we always look at turning radiuses of the equipment, and we get information from, like in this case, it'd be CR&R, right, where we would get something from them showing that this is the turning radius, this is how much that we need. So some sort of a study on that. A noise study for this site, I think, would be something we would like to see, and then also a line of sight for visual. Is there anything else?
The noise study is based upon, I don't know how the noise study is based upon.
Like that motorcycle that just went by.
So is it the commission, rather than simply study ways to mitigate noise, you're directing staff to perform a noise study or have a noise study done? Is that what?
Because I want to know, where like the Zen is. I think it's 100 feet, if I recall right, or 50 feet from the entrance to their property line. Is it 100 feet or 50 feet? I can't remember.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
From the entrance to the car wash front to the retirement community, how many feet again is that from there to their property line?
Yeah, it's quite a bit. But would that be included in the noise study then, that we would take a look at where, or could that be included in the noise study?
About 320 feet.
320. I don't think really they're going to get much noise anyway.
And being able to, when you say noise study, that kind of raises a red flag for me, because it's like studies are studies are studies.
Or noise analysis.
Maybe a noise analysis, or a way to further mitigate.
I think you're looking for some analysis on the noise that's generated so that you can determine whether the mitigation is appropriate or not.
Yeah.
I can tell you just also, I saw in a similar a project like this one. They solved it by near rotating the entire site and moving the tunnel to the other side of the property from the sensitive use. I don't think AutoZone cares necessarily. Sorry, I'm not a planner. Just one of those things that I've seen.
That's the same thing I was thinking, is AutoZone is more compatible and
Yeah, they may not care to have the blower next to their parking lot.
It'll probably be marketing to the car people that come through for some car but yeah, I think it might be more complementary to the use. So both of those uses are compatible.
So then it sounds like the motion isn't necessarily for a noise study, but for an analysis of the noise generated and additional mitigation of the noise, as well as the trash enclosure concerns and the line of sight study with perhaps additional landscaping to block that.
Correct, and that's what I moved.
I second.
So before you vote, yes, we need a date certain. So
well, we'll leave that to
we
you.
would
What's your
recommend second meeting of April. I believe that should give us adequate time.
That's what I moved.
Okay.
And I'll second.
Let's check the calendar real quick.
So thank you for, to the applicant, thank you for providing all of the feedback, and we look forward to, we're going to continue this, but we look forward to having you back and getting these couple issues taken a closer look at and addressed.
So that would be April
20th. April 14th?
20th.
20th, thank you.
That's what I said, I think. Yeah, April 20th.
Do we need to repeat the motion?
Just add the April 20th date to the motion.
I second.
Perhaps I can restate the motion just for clarity. The motion is to keep the public hearing open, continue it to the meeting of April 20th, to allow staff and the applicant to provide an analysis and potential additional mitigation for the noise generated by the project, the line of sight study and light, especially the headlights from the queue, and the access to the trash enclosure. That seems like a pretty simple. And that is Commissioner Van Arsdale's motion, which I second. Well said.
Thank you.
That's right. And that well thought out and well stated motion passes 5-0. So we look forward to seeing you guys. I'm hearing from you on April 20th.
Thank you very much.
All right. Item 8, City Attorney. I'll turn this over to you, HP.
I should do my verbal report now, sir. So just some items of interest that will be coming up that we'll probably touch on Planning Commission. Our office has been tasked with completing a draft cannabis regulatory ordinance. There are obviously significant planning considerations, and it would not surprise me if the Planning Commission did receive at least a briefing, if not a full-blown discussion of what your thoughts are, especially when it comes to things like operating standards and sensitive use buffers. And then I also wanted to touch on, at the last council meeting, we did have the general plan amendment and the second reading of specific plan amendment for Page Ranch. The City Council has actually remanded that item back to the Planning Commission. They would like further discussion regarding the traffic, especially along Warren Road, related to the reduction from 6 lanes down to 4 lanes. Staff has explanations for all that, and I'm sure you will have a fruitful discussion so that the City Council can feel comforted that this has been adequately analyzed by the Commission. A couple other items I thought, I was trying to figure out what should I do during City Attorney reports. And so I thought you might enjoy just getting short legal updates for issues in the land use world. These are things that I get, they inform sort of the advice I give you, and they're also kind of fun war stories. So one of the most recent cases involves indemnification conditions of approval. So it's pretty standard that we have indemnification conditions of approval. For those who are listening who may not know what that means when a project applicant gets their project approved, they are required to pay for the legal costs of defending the city if that approval gets challenged. Well, one public agency took it a bit too far. They expanded that requirement to also include that the applicant pay for the costs of the legal defense if they deny the application, which I thought was clever, but the California Supreme Court thought it was a little too clever and said, no, you can't require applicants to pay your legal bills when you deny their application. And then the other one, just an interesting case out of County of San Diego. County of San Diego was putting 50-foot easements along the backs of residential properties for fire control. So they're requiring that homeowners give the county a 50-foot easement, temporary easement, so they can go in and do weed removal to prevent wildfires from coming and burning down everybody's houses. You'd think that would be something we'd all agree on. Some homeowners disagreed, said you cannot take our property like that, even temporarily, and they stated a claim. So that case is going to be proceeding forward under theories of unlawful takings and inverse condemnation. So it's one of those things that we always talk about when we're doing conditions of approval. We've got to make sure there's a nexus to the project. The project is doing something that requires that we have a fee or have a dedication or have something that the project has to give up. Sometimes it can go a little too far, and in that case, courts consider it unconstitutional. So those are just some updates from the legal world. Happy to discuss them further if anyone's actually interested. And that's the end of my city attorney report.
Excellent.
Increased fire insurance. Right. Like I said, it seemed pretty straightforward to me, but, you know.
All right. Director King, Community Development Reports.
Well, the city attorney has said something that I was going to say about the Rancho Diamante, so that's okay. No, it's okay. But I do have an update. We do have a final number for Arena, and after the appeal that we did for the Arena number, we were denied, as well as majority of the cities that applied. And those cities that were granted their appeal, the number was redistributed throughout the city, all the cities in the county. So we originally had 6,550. We now ended up with 6,564, I believe. So we gained additional 14 units that we need to build within the next 8 years. And that is divided up into multiple sections, which includes very low income, moderate, high, medium high, and high income. So there's a percentage breakdown for each of those categories, and we have to have plans in order to meet that number within 8 years over time. So,
Can you fill our commissioners who might not know what RENA number is?
Sure. RENA number is basically an allocation through SCAG that figures out the, Southern California Area of Governments, Association of Governments. They figure out how many homes are required as going forward based on different factors of family structure, family development, folks that are incoming into the state, and so on. And they have a number that they generate, and that gets distributed by a number of different cities based on the number of different factors, one of which is your job location and how close you are to the job sources. So all those factors are come into play when they distribute that number. For City of Hemet, we were received originally over 12,000 units. And as they're going through different variables and calculation methods, we were reduced down to 6,550. And from there, we appealed based on the fact that the city does not have a major job source that they can go to. The access to public transit is limited and so on. But our effort has been less than successful. So we were denied of that appeal, and we gained additional 14 units.
Well, I'm glad it's back to 6, because the 12,000 was totally unreasonable to try to make the City of Hemet meet.
Correct.
We already meet low-income housing values because the sheer fact that we're a lot less expensive, but then to put those parameters and those requirements onto any new housing, we always have argued that that's ridiculous. And because we already meet it by 80, at the time we were meeting it by 85%, and they were still trying to dump 11,000 houses on us.
Well, why don't they do apartments instead, and they'd be smaller and everything would be lower? Like smaller, instead of houses, apartments or condos or...
Well, there are percentages that you need to meet for all sectors. So,
Okay.
so apartments, single family, starter homes, all of those go into effect.
That was presented pretty early on the commission. I'm wondering if that might not be, when there's a light agenda at some point, maybe kind of an update for the new commission to kind of go over what that means relative to the downtown Hemet.
Sure, absolutely. And with that, we have also acquired a consultant to do our housing element update. So you'll be seeing that, and so that number will come up again within that housing element update. Okay. And that's all I have.
Future agenda items?
So in the future, you'll see a couple different cleanup items. We've kind of down and reanalyzed the items, and we have a residential component and a commercial component coming for you. And one of the items that we will be discussing on the cleanup item is the rear yard patio setback distance. So that we have a lot of new homes that are being developed that does not have adequate backyard space for the new homeowners to install their patio covers due to the minimum setback area. So we're trying to create a new setback area for patio covers, not to the building, but to the patio cover. So some of those cleanup items will come before you, and there'll be a lively and exciting discussions, because you'll see all different aspects of those changes and what the benefits are and what the potential issues could be. And we have El Toro Market Express coming before you. Shamloo drive-through is coming through. That's not a car wash. That
is good. I was worried.
That is a fast food restaurant.
What kind of food is that?
What kind of food?
I believe it's a some type of a chicken drive-through. Not a chicken drive-through, but chicken food drive-through.
We'll Google it. Oh, you said drive? Oh.
Community or Planning Commission reports.
Commissioner Lemke?
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Hill?
I do have something that I want to bring forward, but in the interest of time, I'll wait till we have a light agenda. So I have.
Commissioner Beamsterfer?
Just one, not a report, but a question. With it being read here as of today, when do we know that the city building will open up for public?
Oh, the City Hall, Public Works Building, Police Department, and I believe Engineering Department and Fire Department, they'll be opening up on Monday the 22nd on a part-time basis.
What day, I'm sorry?
Part-time basis, you said.
Part-time basis.
Right. I believe the hours going to be, and I'm not absolutely certain, but it's somewhere it will be 9 to 1 as we did in the past. And then there'll be a person at the main door checking your temperature, asking questions, and also directing them with a limited number of folks in the lobby at the same time.
Nothing else to report?
And Vice Chair Valencia?
Just as we're working to get open and get everybody vaccinated who wants to be, there's just been lots of opportunities that have come up. The Simpson Center had opportunities through the county. The hospital is offering vaccinations at homeowners associations, clubhouses, so that those who, and their first and second vaccination. Then they said what was it, yesterday, opened up to more than 65 and older, to be 45 and older, I guess, that had underlying conditions. So that's moving right along, and it seems like this community has really stepped up between the school district. There are a lot of vaccinations at Tockwitz, and everybody is trying to participate and help. And I'm sure Cindy, you've got a lot of questions down at the chamber, and hopefully we're getting everybody. I'm helping with the hospital ones, but hopefully those who want a vaccine are going to be able to get one anywhere in town.
Chair Wood.
Nothing to report. Just it was kind of we know how good of a job staff does, but it's also always nice to hear it from our customers and developers and people new coming into our community. So kudos to you and your staff, Director King.
Yeah, thanks. Good job.
And with that, if I get the date right, there's nothing more. We will be adjourned until April 6th.